Hello and welcome, wrestling fans, wrestling extraordinaires, whatever you want to call it. Welcome. I have no other words to say other than welcome. That's the only thing I'm thinking of right now. I am Nicholas Jason Lopez, editor in chief and owner of a proud little website, my baby, ProWrestlingOpinion.com. It's your go to source for pro wrestling news, reviews, and all the like. You can also check out my music site, The Music Bugle. News, reviews, all that good stuff. Check it out. I got two children at home, technically speaking. I guess I'm a working father. I have proud technological babies. And you're in for an audio treat because it is the RSN Wrestling Podcast. And it is I forget how many of these we've done, but it is our hashtag Slammalammies. Now, try to count how many M's are in that, and you might have yourself a drinking game there. But I am, as we discussed before, Nicholas, and I'm going to throw it to Rich and Sal. They'll have their own fancy little intro as well. Have the floor, gentlemen.
Hey guys, so yeah, my name is Sal. Of course, I'm the S in RSN, the RSN Wrestling Podcast. And to answer your question, Nick, how many M's are in Slammalammies? If you're talking about years and M's, I would say about what fourth. This is our fifth Slammalammies, I'd say, or quote unquote year-end in review show. So of course, this is just where we break down all the shows and everything, breaking down all the stuff from 2019, the year before, and just breaking it down from there. I know we got Rich, who's actually we've both been following really big. I think all of us have been following really big. But you gotta talk about Rich too. Rich, tell him, man.
What's up, guys? What's going on, guys? This is the big guy, the guy who runs the Instagram page, Twitter page, half of the Facebook page, which, by the way, on the Instagram page, we're doing a new thing. Instead of doing the birthdays right before the New Year's ended, I decided that we're going to start doing Superstar of the Week, where each one of us selects a different superstar. And from Monday through Friday, I'm posting two pictures of each superstar. So far, it's been a big hit. We've gotten a couple superstars to actually like the pictures, such as Brian Pillman Jr. He liked all the pictures of his father that I did. Uh, Unfortunately, the only one who was a big fail, unfortunately, happened to be Nick's first pick, which was Baron Corbin, which everyone understands why. But the reason why everyone's here tonight, Sal, take it away with the first award of the Slammalammies for 2019.
Yeah. So I mean, just to kind of break this down, in terms of what we have here. So every year we go ahead and actually break down what's going on in wrestling, of course, and that's across all promotions, not just WWE, but also ROH. Impact. We talk about AEW. MLW. All these big promotions, everything going on in wrestling, New Japan included, all these different promotions. But basically breaking down different kind of topics, and then we kind of talk about who stood out that whole year. So of course, the first topic, of course, bringing it in, um, we gotta talk about, of course, female of the year. I would say female superstar of the year. I think because again, if you think about it, from 2018, there's this whole, I guess, surge of the women's movement and kind of pushing that more. Of course, that WrestleMania, they started to go ahead and actually headlining. That was the first year that this ever happened where the women headlined Mania. So I think it would be, it wouldn't be the 2019 without talking about, of course, the women. So I mean, let's talk about this first. The women's wrestling in 2019. What are your guys' thoughts overall of 2019 and women's wrestling?
I would like to start that one off. I think it was kind of underwhelming. Uh, Well, besides the big three main event of Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte, they probably did the best they could with it. But don't forget, this match kind of went on at 12:30, 1 a.m. in the morning after I think about 7 hours of wrestling and pre-shows and all of that stuff. So if anybody was actually awake to watch it, they probably wouldn't have been as enthusiastic. I also thought the three-way at Survivor Series was highly disappointing as well. Now, did 2019 bring us a lot of good things? Yeah, sure. Becky Lynch didn't. I mean, maybe she did cool off a bit ever since her 2018, but she still manages to be the most popular face in the company. They slap her picture on anything and it sells. She was on the front cover of the video game. Um, you just throw her name anywhere and everywhere, and even people who haven't heard of WWE will actually they'll actually respond to Becky Lynch's name because they hear her name so much that just to see Becky kind of progress to this mega superstar kind of level, it's almost underwhelming if you actually think about it, considering how she came up, kind of like an NXT breakthrough. She was kind of like the jokester in Team PCB, stuff like that. So it's just amazing just to see her progress. I am probably one of the few who actually likes heel Bailey, and I think we actually got a more defined character, which is something that she was struggling with for the longest time. But I think probably the biggest sin of the women's wrestling in 2019 was that we didn't really have one defining moment per se. Outside of Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch at Hell in a Cell, which was probably the only match that captivated me, we didn't really get one standout performance on the main roster. NXT did manage to have a few show stealers, and we have a really good view of what the future could bring us. But on the main roster, I just don't know. I'm losing hope a little bit. But this Becky Asuka feud right now is giving me a little bit of hope.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the only thing.
for sure.
So yeah, 2019 women's wrestling. Yeah, it had the spotlight, but I feel like we moved back a couple of steps from all the progress that we made the years beforehand.
Well said, well said. I mean, well, just to transition this, I mean, let's break down our picks. So, I mean, Rich, we gotta talk about your pick. So, I think what Nick was talking about goes just in line with your pick right here. So, of course, like we talk about WWE and Becky Lynch and everything, but on the opposite end, I guess, on the other parallel, right, we gotta talk about this pick. So, take it away, man. Your pick for female of the year.
Well, even though she's had a little controversy in the past couple days, she's known for fighting men, no matter who it is, whether it's Brian Cage, Sammy Callahan, Madman Bolton, whatever the hell his name is, Dave Christ, Jake Christ. She's Her father is a well-known legend. Her stepfather is a well-known legend. My pick for female of the year, Tessa Blanchard, the undeniable Tessa Blanchard.
I mean, we talk about Tessa Blanchard. That's probably what, like, I mean, the reason I say this is parallel because for the whole year we probably heard a lot about Tessa, like and making a mark about not just female wrestling, but then also about intergender wrestling and putting that in the spotlight. Which of course WWE has like a lot of like heat towards. They're kind of like, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't touch that. That's a very touchy subject. I mean, think about it. In Royal Rumble 2019, they had Nia Jax as number 30, which was kind of like, okay, I guess that was their attempt to do that, but then it was like why bother? But now if you're looking at, I think we can all agree, intergender wrestling, probably indies are probably the best place for that. If you're talking about that, Tessa Blanchard's probably on the face of that. I mean, for me, I mean, I can tell you about my pick. I picked Charlotte simply because of the fact that she kind of blends the two. I'd say in a sense. I mean, look at her dad is goddamn Ric Flair for a sense. But then on top of the fact, it's kind of like if you see her whole year, she started out, kind of being overshadowed by all these other people and everything like that. Between Sasha getting her whole reboot, between Becky Lynch, blowing up, Bailey just kind of sitting in the shadows. But then you see Charlotte, she really doesn't have that much of a place compared to years prior. So I think for her, it's kind of like you see her, like, they gave her the title heading into Mania. She ended up winning that. I think she won. She won a Raw title. I don't know. I think she won a couple of other titles throughout the year, and then where you have her, probably towards the end of the year, she got the title back. So I think long term, of course, this is basically their golden goose right here. They're kind of like, you know what? We're not trying to let go of this. She's athletic. She can do it. And goddamn, she's dating fucking Andrade Cien almost. Like, come on, Basically,
Engaged.
yeah, they're engaged. So, of course, now you got that too. Not just a female star, but then also, a potential big male star that they're looking for. Trying to hit that Latino demographic. So for me, I pick Charlotte.
Which isn't a bad pick.
And then that leaves one.
That does leave one.
Let's leave one.
All right. So I know I talked pretty well about Becky Lynch, but my pick is actually a little bit different. Kind of goes along the line of someone who probably shined a little bit more in the second half of the year, but irregardless, still shining nevertheless. No, I'm not talking about Bianca Belair. Calm down. But
Would it
you're
be
in
a
the
bad
right
pick
ballpark.
actually?
It could happen. You never know. Probably years, maybe next year, maybe down the line. You never know.
You never know. But I think she's well on her way. But
She's on her way.
someone who is there right now, Rhea Ripley. And after watching Survivor Series and the build to it, she was treated like a main star from the get go. And being the one to unthrone Shayna Baszler, who's pretty much defeated everybody in singles competition. They throw them all together in a match, and she still beats everybody. Having that rub is huge, and it was the perfect time to strike while the iron was hot. NXT did a good job as usual, and we got our payoff on TV in an absolutely electric match, and the time couldn't be more right. Now, will Shayna probably move on to the main roster? I don't know for sure with this whole brand split thing in effect. NXT is kind of treated as its own entity, not kind of looked at as developmental per se. But if Shayna does move away from the NXT brand, Rhea is kind of already up there at the top, and there's an endless supply of talent right there in NXT that should keep her busy for at least a good 6-7 months. And you could throw any of them at Ripley, get a quality match. She's
And
kind of the total
also
package.
and also a
Character, the
plus.
character's there, the theme is there,
That's
the
right.
entrance is fire, her
Yeah.
in-ring skills are awesome.
Hell yeah.
It's you can't go wrong. And not to mention Survivor Series. She had a really good Survivor Series weekend too.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
she's already been taken seriously as a superstar, and there's nowhere else for her to go but up. I think 2020 is going to just be more of the same. She'll actually probably she'll shine even brighter with the spotlight directly on her. But she worked hard to get to where she is, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that warrants
And
my pick.
and also a plus. He started the year as the UK Women's Champ. End of the year as the NXT Women's Champ.
It's true. And
Probably
then
the first person to do that.
yeah, probably the first
The
person.
only
Yeah. And then also
because it's either her, Tony Storm, or Kaylee Ray. The only three women to hold the UK title.
yeah. And then it's kind of like, well, they I think they launched the UK brand officially this year, right? With the titles in UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
In end of December 2018, beginning January 2019, it started.
yeah. I mean, you gotta think about it. This girl was born in '96. She's probably a lot younger than all of us, and that's crazy. Like she blew up like all this time and everything. I think in 2016, 2017, you saw her with the blonde hair, and now you see her with the whole character change and everything. So it just comes to show, like you change yourself, you keep developing yourself, things are always gonna turn out. So it's hats off to her. I mean, we talk about NXT. Before we go, I would say later on, we're gonna kind of ricochet. No pun intended. We're gonna ricochet back into something
Totally intended.
towards the end of the podcast. But I think this is probably a fitting time to talk about this superstar of the year. So superstar of the year in terms of the whole year, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, Indies, whatever it is. We're talking about the top superstar of 2019 that really had a good year, creatively, professionally, whatever it was from there. We gotta of course break this down. I mean, we talk about NXT and talk like that. NXT probably like launched the whole brand. We talk about this every single week, every single big four pay per view that there is, a weekend. What's the brand that always kills it? NXT. A takeover always be SummerSlam. It always be Survivor Series. beats Mania if it has to. It beats everything. But we gotta talk about the top performer. I think me and Rich had the same pick for this topic. Adam Cole. I'll let you take it away, Rich.
No, say it correctly.
Wait. Hold it.
Say it correctly.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's an RSN tradition.
Yes.
When you say his name, you got to say the whole thing.
Yep. Take it away.
Sal, who was your pick for 2019 Superstar of the Year?
It's Adam Cole, baby.
That's how you properly say his name.
Yeah, but we got to pause. That's the thing too, you know. So, I mean, this guy. I mean, I'll let you take it away. You got because I know he's your favorite, man. You gotta talk about this guy.
What is, to be honest, what's there to not say about his year?
Yeah, it's true. But what makes 2019 in your mind the best year for him? Why does he stand out in 2019?
One feud. Well, actually, two feuds. Gargano, Ciampa. That's it. Those two feuds made him easily gave him, I want to say maybe five-star matches. Whether it was Gargano versus Cole, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever amount of matches they had, or the War Games match against Ciampa.
Yeah, I mean,
No matter what,
Yeah,
no matter what, he put on match of the night, match of the month, match of the half a year, possibly match of the year.
that's a fact. I mean, for me, I just picked this guy simply because of the fact that if you look at him from the beginning of the year, he was seen as this guy that was like, okay, he's going to be an upcoming star, and then you saw him slowly taking that role. Of course, it started taking away from a whole Champa and Gargano thing because of injuries or whatever the reason was. Maybe they were planning on putting, uh, you know, putting Gargano in the main roster or whatever. We had those rumors, and then the next thing he shows up at the Royal Rumble, and then it's this whole thing like, okay, where's his place now? But then you know, bringing in Adam Cole into the mix, and then of course the whole Undisputed Era element of it changed everything. You see the whole year they dominated all over the place, and it's kind of like I mean, we'll probably get to this too when we talk about tag teams of the year and stuff like that. But it's
Also, can't wait to see this 8-man tag, Undisputed Era versus Imperium
yeah, and
at Worlds Collide.
yeah.
Can't wait to see that.
That's right. They had so many different feuds. I mean, of course, the fact that now recently they got Imperium versus the Undisputed Era. You talk about Survivor Series, they dominated during that time. There's a whole bunch of time periods. But then if you look at Adam Cole as an individual, you got to think about this guy went to the Indies. This guy, his friends are running a big company, a rival company, AEW, and he decided to stay with WWE because he's like, you know what, this is probably the place where I want to be. He wants to dominate here. It's kind of like it's a different environment. People kind of look at him and go, "Why? Why would you go to WWE? WWE doesn't see anything in you." But you see this guy now; he's dominating. He won the NXT title. He's running a big faction that dominates NXT. Put on like big matches. If you see him from what you call it, I think what was it? There was a SmackDown I think where people were stranded. I think.
Oh, the one the week before some Survivor Series.
Yeah, and I think we always talk about this.
The invasion.
Yeah,
The invasion angle.
The invasion angle, exactly. Pre-Survivor
Which,
Series.
by the way, if you want to get a review of that, you could always just go to ProWrestlingOpinion.com,
Exactly.
where Nicholas Lopez does segment by segment updates for all the fans. Right. There you go, Nick. Cheap plug.
We always got to talk.
Wow, I'm pretty thoroughly impressed. But I think now might be the good time for me to take the floor.
Yes.
Because I have a different pick. Now I'm not going to deny Adam Cole.
I had to just throw a plug in there.
Yeah.
It's going to be randomly throughout the show. One of us will do it.
Yep.
Much appreciated.
Well,
yes. Well, moving on, I'm going to talk about my pick of the year. Now, this might be a little bit maybe unorthodox. Again, not going to deny that Cole had a great year, but I'll get a little bit more in depth with that in my later picks. But as far as overall marketability, popularity, in-ring skill, still bringing it at 49, and not to mention he is the kind of the head of AEW as far as being its world champion. I'm talking about Chris Jericho. All right, yeah, maybe he let himself go a little bit, but listen,
Too much of the
he's
bubbly.
49,
Why the fuck?
and
Why though? Why?
everybody in wrestling is talking about the bubbly, a little bit of the bubbly. I mean, it's still amazing how he could churn out catchphrases left and right. Absolutely love the concept of the inner circle. People know who Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager and that other
Santana and
team,
Ortiz.
PNP, we'll call it.
Santana and
Everybody knows who
Ortiz.
they are just by attaching themselves underneath Jericho's wing. It's a genius concept. It's a perfect heel foil. Now, I do think AEW has a little bit of a problem having redeemable baby faces that aren't named Cody. That they feel the need to attack every single time they want to debut somebody evil. But that's something I could talk about at a later time. Just as far as Jericho, he had that run. He's still AEW champion. He's still got that run. He's being trusted as a top name for AEW to run with. Whoever uncrowns him eventually it'll make for a great moment. But you don't want to stop that momentum you get from having a heel champion right at the top of the brand. His match with Cody at Full Gear was about as good as can be. All right, the MJF stuff kind of muddied the water a little bit, but you can't deny the match was good. Jericho could still bring it. He's killing it over in New Japan as well. Probably the only guy who's done WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom, and now he's in AEW, WCW, ECW. I mean, you name it. The guy's still there. He's still performing. Maybe he's lost a little bit of touch in the ring, but you can't deny he's still great on the mic. Inner Circle is about as popular as he can be. He's got the word bubbly trending. I mean, I don't see where you could go wrong with Jericho now, and it's only going to get better as 2020 goes along.
True. That's right. And this guy devoted what 3 years to AEW? That's a big fucking deal. Like you're gonna spend 3 years of your time. That means that you really have some faith in this. You actually believe in this. And people were critics. They thought, why the fuck would he do that? Why the fuck would he turn his back on Vince after all these years? He said, I would never work for another promotion in North America. And he ends up doing New Japan, and now he's in AEW. Wow, that's kind of fucked up. But then if you look at it makes sense. I mean, in terms of his character and what he's doing and stuff like that, reinventing himself, he wouldn't have been able to get away with some of the stuff that he's doing now in AEW than what he was doing in WWE. So I mean, it's just an extension of his character, but I think really it's just a rebirth, and of course, it just kind of brings him in the spotlight. He can just keep reinventing himself. Um, but yeah,
Jericho's the king of reinvention. How
he
many
is
different types of personas has he come up with? And now
exactly,
we have this AEW personality on top of it.
exactly.
He's got the fancy jackets and the sunglasses
Hmm.
and oh my god, I forgot the most legendary name. Oh god, he was in that video. Oh, what's this? Soul Train Jones. We can't forget the wrestling legend Soul Train Jones.
Oh, you're talking about Virgil?
No, he's Soul Train Jones.
Soul Train
Yeah,
Jones.
same guy. Same guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's still yeah. I mean, we talk about AEW. I mean, let's go off on a tangent. We got a couple of topics where we do talk about talking about AEW and stuff like that. This brings us to match of the year. So I mean, we got two matches here that were from AEW. One match that was from NXT. Uh, let's start off with the whole signature that we got. So RSN, Rich, take it away, brother. Because you got one that's from AEW too, and I got one from AEW.
My pick for match of the year was easily the biggest main event that was built up, just for the fact of one of the people who were in the match departed from WWE and unexpectedly had a great promo video on not even Facebook, not on TV, Twitter. It was on YouTube. It was brother versus brother. Cody versus Dustin. Easily one of the best matches I ever seen Dustin have. He got busted open. The blood blended in perfect with the red and black gear that he had. And then Cody cut the famous Dusty Rhodes promo on Dustin. And Dusty did it to Dustin in WCW. Cody did it in AEW, which led up to the Rhodes brothers versus the Young Bucks at Fight for the Fallen, I want to say it is, which was also a great match. And it just proves not just best friends put on great matches as rivals, but brothers put on a great match even though they weren't rivals.
It's true. I mean, that was, if you want to talk about storytelling, that match was probably all basically full storytelling. You talk about all the spots that they had, between all the extreme moments and stuff like that, the entrance and everything that they had, where Cody comes out and he goes ahead and breaks the sledgehammer over you know the chair, symbolizing, basically just the big middle finger to Triple H. And on top of the fact they have this big match trending everywhere, it was this whole thing. Dustin breaks away from WWE as a producer role, now into like a big wrestling role, and now into a bit even bigger producer role. And on top of the fact, now they're building this whole thing, and they built it all around Dusty. If you think about it, it was just this whole thing. I mean, if you're talking about storytelling, AEW does it great. Cody Dustin, great match indeed. Uh, for me, I picked Jericho versus Adam Hangman Page in AEW for the world title. So this was like this whole thing. They had a 10-man battle royal. I think this was All or Nothing, or no. So Adam Page won the All or Nothing battle royal, or Double or Nothing battle royal, and then I think, what was it? That first night where they were on TNT? They had a world title match, I think, right?
I think not 100% sure.
Right. I think. Well, it was like this whole thing. I guess this whole build, and it was this whole thing where Jericho, I think, beat, was it Moxley, or he beat um Pac? I don't think it was Pac, right? For the qualifying match.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Again, this is so good. Like, I fucking forgot. Like, I can't even remember. But it was like, it was such a, like, of course, the way that they had it built up. And Hangman Page, who was like the hands-on favorite, they thought, okay, this guy's gonna take AEW into the future. They finally gave him the rocket ship. Like, oh shit, they're gonna push this guy now. It's not Omega. It's not anybody. It's not one of the Young Bucks. It's not Cody. It's one of their best friends, Adam Hangman Page. Which is kind of like, wow, man, like, you're really gonna put this guy into the main card picture. And against who else? Jericho. We talk about Jericho, of course, being creative. I think that whole match told a story, but at the same time, at the end, it was kind of like, the way they had it, it was like, oh man, Hangman Page is about to win, and then next thing you know, Jericho, of course, pulls out the victory. And it's kind of this whole thing where we're like, why would that happen? Why would they give it to someone that's already established? Why not establish Adam Hangman Page? When in reality, I think really it's going to help out Adam Hangman Page in the long run. So eventually, I think he's going to be the one. We talk about who's going to be the one to dethrone Jericho. I firmly believe 2020 heading into it, Adam Hangman Page is going to be the one that's going to take the belt off him at some point.
I do think Jericho will lose eventually, probably within the first half of this year. But I
Hopefully.
think the money is right now with Moxley being the one to do it. But I kind of secretly want this whole Sting Hogan esque build where they kind of take a year to do it, and maybe Moxley finally dethrones Jericho towards the end of the year. I kind of want this to last as long as possible. I kind of wish Moxley had actually embraced the inner circle, just Orton and Bray Wyatt had done it in WWE like 3 years prior, except that it ended in a terrible WrestleMania match. But the storyline was still good. I do think they could still tease things around a little bit, although it's probably evident that Moxley Jericho is probably gonna headline the next pay per view. It is what it is. And as far as Rich's pick, I do have to agree to an extent. I do think AEW was gaining momentum, but once Cody Dustin happened, that was kind of the moment that people looked at Twitter, they saw what was going on, and they knew that AEW was here to kind of stay. and they're swinging the big bats. That was kind of the moment that AEW people stopped and looked, and they liked what they saw, and they wanted more of it. Easily, probably the best moment of both guys' career. Dustin always wanted his big moment. I think he got it there. Cody wanted his moment of retribution. Pretty sure he got it there. The promo that kind of ties everything together, the old school blood, the blood filled canvas, just everything just comes together. And that probably would have been my had there not been a match earlier this in the year that pretty much could have everything you could ask for in a wrestling main event as far as these days. Probably had more action than some of the best action blockbusters. And there's no other way to paint this. It might be NXT's best match ever. Of course, I'm talking kind of in balance. Gargano kind of had his happy ending already kind of drawn out, and boom, you get that last shot from Adam Cole. Everybody thought that was going to be the end of the match. Okay? You're probably going to be hard pressed to find a match that's that good with those two. Of course, they went and did it again on their second encounter, but I'm always going to prefer the first one. Something in the air that night, the organic feel. I don't think you're ever gonna top that. That's probably what you want in an NXT takeover the night before, 2 nights before WrestleMania, and it's still like I think Gargano and Cole's best match in their career to date, rightfully. What else could you ask for a match? Near falls, smartly worked spots, great in-ring storytelling, logical psychology, about everything you could ask for. Total package, and I'm not talking Lex Luger, who wants to do that, but
Fuck Lex
yeah,
Luger.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, well, you talk about everything working in perfect synchrony, everything is perfect, Um,
It was
but yeah,
it was in harmony, perfect.
yeah, perfect harmony. Everything's organic. It's all smooth. It's supposed to go the way that's supposed to go, and even better. But then we also, I mean, we gotta talk about. I think this brings us to our next topic: botches of the year. This is like a small subtopic, I'd say.
Too many.
2019 filled with botches, man. I mean, we gotta talk about this. Overall, all the years. I mean, let's kind of we'll backtrack it. So we'll start with Nick. We'll start backwards from the Arsenal Wrestling format. Nick, you gotta tell us, man, why the hell Goldberg at Saudi Arabia was a botch?
Wait, what? When did I say that?
Yeah, that was my pick.
Yeah. Oh wait, one sec. Yeah, it was.
Ah,
Oh.
I see what Sal did. He botched
Hey,
it.
you
Watch
throwing us
that.
curveballs
Yeah,
because
throwing a combo.
I actually picked something different.
I see what
Yeah,
he
I picked
Uh-huh.
did.
something.
Uh-huh.
So Sal botched the botch of the
A
year
botch the botch of the
category.
year. Yeah. That's what's up. I'm telling you. It's a good way. It's a good way of kind of bringing this topic in, I guess. So, I mean, let's talk about it.
Nah,
So,
you fucked up. Just it. All right. Well,
Good one,
I
Sal.
will start the.
yeah.
Good one, Sal.
Yeah, I see that. But yeah.
But I do like the idea of starting me off.
Well, it's two
We'll
two
change it
negatives
up
make a
for
positive. Two negatives make a positive. That's okay.
two negatives. Do make a.
Yeah.
I just wish I could kind of go back 10 years so I could pass chemistry class, but that's neither here nor there. Now, my botch of the year happened right towards the end. As I was trying to think of moments, and you two kind of took the other, possible ones that could happen. Um, but I'm gonna go with probably the most genuine one was Dash Wilder tripping in the portion of the Revival's entrance on Down. And I think that just kind of personifies SmackDown as a whole on Fox ever since they moved. It's kind of been a what the hell kind of thing. There's not really a lot of emotion. Things are just kind of thrown out there. It's a little bit too commercialized for my liking. Compare this to SmackDown Live's start when they first implemented the brand split in 2016, the Land of Opportunity. We ain't got no opportunity on this SmackDown, that's for sure. Outside of the one episode where NXT took over and we had a match, Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan, which was almost going to be my WWE TV match of 2019. I'm still 2 years back. Forgive me, but because of that, I just Dash kind of falling in the entrance just is kind of perfect. And I love that he actually, they kind of used it in the moment. They didn't falter, they didn't play off of it, and they just kind of just kept rolling with it. But you know, and people, it was screenshot, and then it was on Twitter, and then once it's Twitter, the community not gonna let it go. And now, for everybody's enjoyment, they could just watch it over and over and over. Is that the moment that Dash Mulder probably thought people were gonna replay the most on Twitter? Sure enough, that's what we got. And I'm not gonna.
That's true. I mean, I mean, before I rudely, I guess, botched the what you call it, the botch of the year. I mean, for me, I picked something. I think it's always. I think it kind of goes back 10 years ago. Also, if you think about it, 10 years ago. I mean, let's take it back. 1998, 1999. You know, the whole Austin and McMahon storyline, right? McMahon says, "Hey, you gotta join me. You know, you gotta be the corporate, person, whatever, right?" You know, so Steve Austin looks at him with the beady eyes and says, "No." Flips a double bird, stuns him. And what does this guy do? The owner of a big multi-million-dollar company botches a stunner. Fucked up. And now you see 10 years later, same kind of spot, but this time with a new upcoming wrestler in Kevin Owens, who quote unquote just got recently fired again, and then basically setting up a new feud. This time with, of all people, Shane McMahon. It seems like all McMahons don't know how to take a stunner. I mean, if you look at Linda, she couldn't take a stunner. Steph, she couldn't take a stunner. I don't think she even took a stunner at this point because probably Triple H. But at this point, I mean, if you saw that whole spot, it was just something that was just dying. I was like, holy shit, this is 10 years in the making, and the father can't do it, the son can't even take the spot. Holy shit! So the whole time he was doing it, setting it up, Owens did a good job of doing it, but then this guy ducks before he even hits it, and then he's trying to go and fuck it up, and then next thing you know, Owens had to redo it again. Actually hit it. This guy overreacted. Oh fuck, that's it. Okay, and everybody's just like, wow, it's the joke of the year.
Pick for botch of the year. Goldberg doing the jackhammer to Taker at the Saudi Arabia show.
Well, yeah, it was like, I mean, that's the thing I was thinking. I was like, what really was kind of fucked up in this? Like, was it the spot where he accidentally concussed himself, or was it the spot where he fucked up that jackhammer? But I think it was probably the whole match, and I think the whole like
Well, if I had to pick one specific spot, it would be the jackhammer one.
the jackhammer one. Yeah, he almost injured Taker. That's pretty fucked up.
He almost concussed Taker. And from what everyone has said from backstage and everything, Taker, who never gets pissed, was ready to kill Goldberg.
Right?
And I don't blame him, but that also goes from Matt Riddle, which was friggin' hilarious,
Oh
who
man,
always talks shit.
but it
But
works.
everyone knows that Riddle and Goldberg are feuding.
That's right. And it kind of seems like, and there was that moment in that documentary where they had uh, Riddle with Goldberg, and the whole time you see Goldberg just like cringing up. He's like, "Holy shit!" And then the whole time they're just talking, and he's just like, "Yeah, bro." He's like, "Don't call me your fucking bro." And he's just looking. He's like, "Okay, bro." It was fucking
Sorry, bro.
hilarious. Sorry, bro.
Sorry, bro.
He's like, "Don't call me bro." And then he says, "Okay, bro." The balls in this guy, man. It's crazy. So, I mean, you gotta say that's Matt Riddle for you.
Just remember, Lesnar fears Riddle. It's a proven fact.
Yeah.
Google it.
That's true. I mean, that's probably why they're not setting it up yet. So for Royal Rumble 2020, you never know. He's in the match. Maybe Matt Riddle's in the match. You never know. Maybe Matt Riddle might pick number two. What a sight that would be. You never know. I mean, let's talk about we talk about of course Botch moving this in. I guess talking about all the other stuff. Breakout star of the year for 2019. Nick, take it away, bro.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
I can roll with that.
take it away.
Um, he's kind of. I am taking it away. Um, one name has kind of been synonymous with NXT ever since it kind of kind of become a viral sensation, whether it's his shoulder pounce that pull into the first row, or his Thanos like ability to just kind of rise from out of nowhere and just get the death stare to whoever is near him. I am talking about the one and only Keith Lee. Now, funny thing is, and the three of us, we've kind of tracked Lee's progress from Ring of Honor to NXT, and it's only gotten bigger and better for him. Keith Lee's kind of always been known as this big guy who could fly, probably the biggest guy who could fly. That's who are we kidding? And for a moment in Survivor Series, he was hanging up there with Roman Reigns. It looked like for a second that maybe he just might beat Reigns. Of course, that didn't come to be, but they teased it enough to let us have fun with it. And better yet, they kind of had a show of respect. There, it's only going to be a good thing for the two of them. And I think I think the smart move would be to have Lee eventually beat Cole for the NXT title. I think Lee's kind of proven he could be an asset. He could be a worthy champion. I think it's something that NXT should do while the momentum Lee, and I think being a defending reigning champion who just kind of takes on all. And don't forget, NXT's main event scene right now is pretty much really want. You got Ciampa, you got Balor. You could throw Riddle in there if you even really want to. Riddle and Lee are kind of like their own team. They have like a friendly rivalry. There's a lot of different things you could do, and I'm kind of curious to see what the Keith main event would look like. I'm sure we're gonna get at one of these takeovers eventually, and maybe they do what they did towards WrestleMania. We have Lee kind of win the title there as opposed to right now in January. But who's to say? This is all Triple H's. This is Triple H's game. The pawn pieces and the chess. So ultimately, only one person could really make that decision. But I do think Keith Lee is something worth striking while the iron is hot. I don't know about you, but I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, so the reason I brought up Keith Lee because we're also going to be talking, and I know someone else picked him for another topic. Um, and I think it's a big thing because if you look at this guy Survivor, I think that second half of the year, the second and third half of the year, it was just like this whole thing where there was rumors that Keith Lee was getting a lot of like I said praise from Vince, which is very rare. A lot of people don't see a lot of that in big guys like Keith Lee's size. But then if you see what this guy could do
Well,
on
not even
SmackDown,
well, not even that. We all know Vince with one specific thing,
yeah,
the race,
mhm, that's
which
right.
is a big surprise to me actually that he actually has high praise and wants to actually push him because we all know Vince doesn't really push people of different nationalities, different races, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about like early in the year, Andrade, for example, they said, oh, the reason there was a big thing going around that the reason they wouldn't push him is because he didn't speak English, which is kind of like duh, like you're trying to break one of the like the second largest or now becoming the biggest growing second language speaking population right now, the Latino population, which is now growing now. Why not? What does that have to do with anything? Like, now this guy's doing his promos in Spanish and he's probably getting a lot more out of it than anybody else. I mean, but taking it back, talk about Keith Lee. We'll probably talk about him later on. Um, I mean, for me, I pick, of course, somebody that's who I think really stood out this year in terms of breaking out. Meaning, somebody who from the start of the year is different from the end of the year. Baron Corbin for me. I mean, on top of the fact he won King of the Ring, you know, the whole year he became the most hated person from becoming.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I actually have a pretty funny thing I just realized not so long ago.
Yep.
What channel is SmackDown on?
It's on Fox.
Who just bought Fox earlier this year?
Disney.
So that technically makes Baron Corbin a Disney princess.
That's true. Well, I heard Disney Queen. That's what I heard before.
No, he's a princess.
The Queen of the Ring or the princess? I guess the princess. Yeah, fuck it.
He's a person.
Yeah,
She's silly.
but I could tell you. I mean, if he's the princess, yeah,
He's a STD.
he's STD. He is. I mean, Rock famously called him an STD. I mean, on top of the fact, if you look at him on social media, he trolls everybody. He doesn't give a fuck about it. Little kids curse him out. He curses them out back. He just like makes kids cry. That's his job. He's doing what he loves to do. He said it on what you call it, I think WWE backstage in an interview. He's like, I love what I'm doing. I enjoy it. That's why he's in WWE. And I think I talk about this all the time. Where I think years prior, I put this guy as like the prospect guy. The big top guy that's gonna become world champ. They didn't do it, unfortunately, not yet. But I think definitely,
Well,
they might have.
well, we can agree he is one of the best heels in WWE.
At the moment.
Because just remember what Triple H said. If you're playing this gimmick and you're not making people hate you,
Yeah.
Are you really a heel?
That's true.
Everyone hates him.
Yeah.
He's probably the perfect heel in WWE.
This guy gets death threats. Like, that's real good heat. That's bad heat, but if you're
It's
getting
good
death
heat, but
threats,
it's bad heat.
it's bad heat. Iron Sheik once said it. Iron Sheik once said, that he got all this heat, and people he used to get scared of that. But the boys told him, they said, "Nah, that's good heat. That's what you want. That's the kind of heat that you want. Especially nowadays, that's rarely where you have that. Especially in this kayfabe era that we live in, where everything's on the internet, everybody knows wrestling and all stuff. It's hard to do that now. But
Yeah,
this guy's doing it.
it's good heat, but it's bad heat.
It's bad heat.
It's
Exactly.
good heat on you because it's building you as a heel.
That's right.
But it's bad heat because it kind of makes you feel like a piece of shit.
That's true. Yeah. Well, what about we gotta talk about your pick, man?
Well, I know I picked someone, but I actually had a surprise. I'm throwing a curveball. If that's okay with you guys.
Sure. We love throwing curveballs here.
So I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Just explain who you pick.
Yep.
Changing it up.
Well, my pick for breakout that I told you guys was Darby Allin. Just for the fact, I think he had a great year, headlining a Dynamite episode against Cody, opening a Dynamite episode against Cody, had a pay-per-view match against Cody, had a title shot against Jericho, has had multiple amazing matches in AEW. But as of recent, I want to change my pick and figured make it a surprise. My new breakout star is your United States champion at the moment, Andrade.
Yeah. Andrade, probably one of the biggest rising stars. Well, let me ask you guys this.
And everyone knows I am a big Andrade mark.
Yeah, true. I think
I
Andrade,
love Andrade.
probably one of the biggest rising stars right now. But let me ask you guys this: do you think that? Well, we talked about this. I think. Well, I think they said this in the previous podcast. We talked about it in running the rope series. Uh, but do you think that they're really going through with this? Like they're going full speed? Andrade, Rey Mysterio at Mania?
I'm thinking might actually be Andrade versus Dominic.
Dominic.
I don't know why. I have a feeling that either the Rumble or possibly a little bit after, we will see Dominic in the ring. Like actually wrestle, not just appearing and helping his father.
Yeah, I mean it could. You never know. I mean, if you look at the whole last year, he was involved in the whole Brock Lesnar storyline, and now you know it would make sense to kind of have him come back. Uh, but Nick, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think, amidst all these rumors that Ray's about to retire, wherever the case is, do you think they're gonna go through this? Like, do you think they're gonna go through with this, like a full on storyline 1-on-1, or do you think they have other plans later on?
Well, this is my thing with it, because the funny thing is, Mysterio's kind of at a point of his career where he's actually being treated like a legend, and it's kind of fun while it's lasting. Um, is a ladder match with Andrade? Uh, does it grab my attention? Yeah, sure. Now, um, how much can Mysterio really do in a ladder match at this stage of his career? It's a question you have to ask yourself. I do think the two put on outstanding matches. So, if we have Raws with Mysterio and Andrade and Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, if you just have that fill up one of the hours, um, but I think the funny thing is, as good as Raw has gotten over the past month or so, kind of crafting its own identity, I think you have to give a lot of credit to Rey Mysterio for kind of taking the ball, the ball, and running with it. He's had a lot of really good matches. He's helped put over stars.
Yeah,
Even had a run as U.S. champion. I mean, there's a lot of things to say. And I mean, they even worked in the sob story with Dominic, like, oh, I was gonna retire, but oh, you talked me back into it, and I'm kind of clamoring for a Dominic to kind of turn heel on his, just so I could get that one father son kind of storyline.
A
Like, oh, I
legitimate
never
father
needed
son.
you, Eddie Guerrero,
yeah,
dad. Or, I know they'll never say that on WWE nowadays, and it's there's a lot of different routes they could go, and I don't know Mysterio,
Well, Nick, you're actually
in
talking
his
about a real
career.
Nick. You're talking about a real father son storyline, not a Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan father
we don't
son.
want that shit again. Fuck that.
Not that bullshit. No, this
Hell
would be a
no.
real. And I think, and I think Dominic could use the rub. I mean, he is pretty much a trained wrestler. I thought that, for some reason, I always had the haunting feeling like he was gonna turn on Ray eventually, just to like,
I wouldn't mind seeing Ray
to
versus Dominic.
stop him from retiring, and then just, you know the fact that he would talk him into not retiring and just, taking him and assaulting him, that would be such a despicable act. He would get over
But it
as a
will be
bad guy,
great viewership.
like right
Yeah,
away.
that's true.
I also wouldn't mind seeing that at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Dominic versus
it,
Ray.
it could be a mania, it could be, father versus son, career versus job, or
That actually wouldn't be bad.
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
maybe they could
You
throw in a
got
stipulation, if Ray fired and Dominic gets a contract, if Ray wins, Dominic can't ever for WWE or something like that. Of course, this would be after the heel turn, so they'd have to find a way to get a lot of heat on Dominic. But I think attacking his own father is a pretty good route to go. And
I
again,
just
this is all just speculation and rumors. There's no confirmation to any of this happening. But it seems like right now the story that they want to tell is with Andrade and Mysterio, and I think Andrade's actually getting over successfully for the first time in a long time outside of really good matches. This is the first time I think people are actually taking notice of him, and I'm gonna credit Paul Heyman's booking on Raw. I mean, there's no denying it. I really enjoyed this most recent past episode. Everything's just kind of coming together, and I kind of like that Rey Mysterio at the forefront of this new Raw brand. I'll definitely take it over this SmackDown crap we've been given outside of the Daniel Bryan and the Fiend, obviously.
yeah.
I definitely think Raw is kind of the better brand right now. It's got its own identity,
That's true.
and
And
just kind of want to see what more comes of it. And definitely Rey Mysterio's name to that.
and the big question is, what the hell is inside Rowan's cage?
I think it's gonna be a parrot. I think they're gonna throw everybody off.
A buzzard, another buzzard. I mean, I think we can all say this. It's better than all the stuff that they're doing with the whole Lashley and Rusev storyline. Like, of course, I understand Heyman
I
tries to be
think
very.
the weird thing is, I think I can. The rest of it is good. Is so good that I could put up with the Lionel Lashley stuff, and it's almost like let's make it so bad that it's entertaining the people that don't watch wrestling, and it's just going to be so bad
Yeah,
that it's going to be good. And
yeah,
I think that's just kind of the feeling that I get. They're even throwing a lesbian in there
yeah,
too.
yeah,
But all signs are kind of pointing to a Rusev and Liv relationship.
yeah.
So I don't know where they're really going to go with the lesbian stuff, if that's the direction they want to go. But hey, I will leave this to the bookers. Do whatever the hell you want. Just give me more Black and Murphy and Andrade and Mysterio matches, and
Yeah.
you can do whatever the hell.
Yeah, I mean, again, we always talk about booking style and putting new stars in the forefront. I guess new prospects, if you will. I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's always these new stars, but I think, and even wrestlers have said this before. Before they didn't used to go ahead and put wrestlers in the forefront. Maybe here and there, a couple of wrestlers that were, on contract would shine here and there, maybe like a squash match. But to go full blown, like for example, you talked about before, Murphy and Black, probably one of the biggest storylines right now. This whole thing, everybody's talking about it. It's this whole, like, they're giving them time. It's like a New Japan Pro Wrestling match if you look at it. Wrestle Kingdom, every single match, there was no time limit. Give them all the time that they want to do whatever they want creatively, and it'll work. So it's the same kind of thing. I mean, we're on the same line, same subject. Our next topic, top prospect for 2020. So we're talking about 2020, moving into 2020, the new year. Who is going to be the top star or the new prospect that all the big promotions are looking for, and who will shine this year in your mind? So we talk about breakout star in terms of who will really shine all of 2019. We talk about that. Now we're talking about 2020. Who do you think heading into 2020 is really going to shine and become potentially a breakout star? I mean,
Well, I'll start it out.
yeah,
Uh, being the fact that it's someone who was literally just spoken about
yeah,
by Nick. My pick is Keith Lee.
yeah. We said it before. I mean, of course, this
I'm
guy.
not gonna. I'm not gonna repeat anything because Nick just spoke about him.
Yeah,
Only thing I could add to what Nick said is if he has a big impact in the Royal Rumble, I don't see him lasting in NXT much longer. I see him getting called up, or in the words of Ciampa, getting demoted to Raw or SmackDown, being the fact NXT is the main roster. But 2020 is going to be the year where everyone basks in his glory.
I like how you put it there. I mean, if you talk about big men, and we talk about this all the time, for me, I feel like, beyond just, okay, this guy is this foot tall, whatever, he's Vince's, perfect archetype. For me, I picked the top prospect for 2020 because he's making a lot of noise in 2019. He's related, of course. I mean, I think everybody says this all the time to an Onai family. So of course, he's a Samoan. I'm talking about, of course, Jacob Fatu from MLW. Probably one of the top prospects, I think, in my mind. If you look at this guy, look at his stuff on YouTube, look at his stuff on MLW and AAA. He's killing it, doing some really big stuff. Shout out to you, Werewolf. But I mean, he's just really, really like I think the size that he has, but then on top of the fact the things that he can do. In the same line as Keith
He is
Lee,
a big guy and he could fly.
he could fly. And again, he kind of emulates. If you look at him from far, he looks just like Umaga. You're like, oh shit, that's fucking Umaga. It's not
Bro, when
Umaga.
you sent the picture in the group chat to
Yeah.
me and Nick,
Mhm.
I could have swore that you took a picture of Umaga from like 2005 or some shit.
Yeah.
I could have swore that was Umaga.
I thought it was Umaga's son or something. Yeah, and I think we talked about this. But actually, I think what it is actually, I think he's related to the Usos somehow, and like the Usos have another, and I found this through research. Usos have another brother also that's with them. So I mean, you never know. Maybe this guy might break into WWE or Impact or one of the big promotions, and I mean AEW.
AEW,
Yeah,
baby.
AEW. You never know.
AEW.
But yeah, that's my pick. And then, I mean, of course, we had male picks. We got this also doesn't exclude the females or anybody else, but
Which
next,
leads to Nick's pick, actually,
next,
which is not a bad pick at all.
not a bad pick indeed.
Yes. All right. So, well, this might be an interesting placement of her, being that 2019, I think, arguably gave us the most character development. She was part of the Sky Pirates, one half of them, before one half ended up getting called up to the main roster. She was kind of left with nothing to do, so she started this friendship with Candice LeRae, feud with Shayna Baszler, and then the moment came where she just decided she didn't need anybody. Came a and um, with the help of Poppy and Scary Mask, the best video package you will ever see. I see nowhere else to go but Io Shirai. I think with this new character that she has, this new edge, I think the ball is totally in her court, and she's gonna just knock it out of the park. Because now she could be that badass that a lot of people have commended her for being prior to being in NXT. She's not about smiling faces anymore. She's about dark leather pants, an angry face, and just the will to win. And there's no other way to sum it up. It's perfect timing. I think this character change kind of needed to happen, and I think the image is perfect for her. I love her T-shirt. I love the video packages, the entrance theme, and this is just the way to go. And I think the stage is set for her to kind of take over 2020. And I don't know what her 2020 is gonna look like so far, but maybe she could be in the Royal Rumble. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and I think probably one of the best, I'd say, character changes. Compare, I mean, if you look at 2018, there have been a lot of heel turns and I guess switches, like moving from one side to the other side. I mean, if you compare this to, let's say, Bailey turning heel, dyeing your hair black, contacts, ripping up the Bailey buddies. I mean, if you look at Io Shirai, totally complete shift, and it was totally unexpected. No one expected it. I think with Bailey, everybody kind of expected it, but with Io Shirai, nobody saw it coming. And no
Yeah,
one saw it.
Bailey's. It was just a matter of when it was happening.
Exactly. We thought when.
We all knew it was. It was just when are you going to do it?
Exactly. Sasha had it. Charlotte had it. What you call it? Becky had her change and everything. All these changes work, but then you look at Bailey, it's like, why not? But then Io Shirai is probably the prime example. It just came out of left field. No one expected it, and the timing of it, it was just like, wow, holy shit, you guys gonna do
And
this?
it goes back to what me and you said at the Survivor Series one, the Survivor Series podcast that we did, which you could check out on prowrestlingopinion.com.
Yep.
Another one, Nick.
All these
Yep.
plugs, man. All these plugs.
The thing that I'm talking about, Sal, you remember when I brought up a random statement when a female goes from face to heel,
That's
she
right.
gets hotter?
That's right. I think you were talking about that. We talked about that with Rhea Ripley, all these other characters that changed it, not just the
Io,
look. Yeah.
Io Shirai is on that list also.
Definitely. I mean, and then of course, if you see that whole year when they had the NXT invasion angle, you saw these kind of cool interactions. One of the biggest, coolest interactions I'd say was NXT, where you saw Io Shirai go face to face with what you call Kairi Sane, and they're just looking like
That was great.
the world stopped for like a minute, and we're like, holy shit! And then they ended up breaking up like, boo, why the fuck. But it's a great moment to see that stuff. Um, we talk about again. We're probably like I said, we talk about a lot of topics. We talk about superstar of the year, female of the year, match, breakout star, top prospect. Uh, I think one thing that we can kind of I guess tie this into right here. Let's talk about rookie of the year, rookie, because of course we talk about breakout star, we talk about prospect, but rookie of the year, meaning somebody who you never heard of that blew up. I think all of us picked categories for this category from, of course, new brand. We're talking about AEW, of course. Uh, but yeah, let's start with Rich. Rich, you and me have the same pick, but you tell me, man.
I think no rookie had a bigger year, with the exception of the one that Nick chose, which his will be spoken about in the next couple minutes. In the past couple weeks on Dynamite, he has been basically shooting his shot with celebrities. One was Victoria Justice's sister, and last week was Selma Hayek. He is the Spanish God. He is Jericho's up and coming star. None other than Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Sammy Guevara for the same reasons. This guy, pretty young, starting on the year, of course, AEW first signing, new brand, new promotion. It was this whole thing, like, holy
And
shit. Yeah.
and remember, he had the first match in AEW history against Kip Sabian.
Yeah, a great way of kind of starting out the promotion, but then also everything we talk about this in our podcast. I think the running rope series that we had, the little shoot thing that we had, but we talk about this all the time. It was a great way to start the whole, I guess, a new era with AEW and everything. And he was in the forefront of it. Of course, not then becoming into, of course, Jericho's faction. That was like a whole thing and everything like that. It was a whole. We talk about this all the time too. But I think if you talk about this guy, he's blew. He uses social media as a great thing, enveloped his character, and started becoming this whole other phenomenon. Look him in the ring, really big spots. People call him flashy. I guess old school people will call him. Say, oh, he's too flashy. He does too many spins. He does too many flips. Listen, that's just him. I think that's what separates him from the pack. Why not? And if you look at it, he's probably blown up more than anything. Again, if you line yourself with Jericho, what better way to get yourself over